Hello, Gregory. How you doing? Thank you so much for including your work here. I was just reading through here. Really good job describing your experience with the assignment thus far. This is good stuff. And yeah, regardless of what might work better, we've got these requirements, and this is really indicative, and it mimics a real world assignment and project in that as a designer you have a set of guidelines and recommendations or requirements to work within. These could come from anywhere from an art director to a creative director, even straight from the client. So quite typically, a lot of times in our design careers, I know many, many hundreds, if not thousands of times in my design career, I've looked at a piece and I've said, boy, if this requirement wasn't here, then this piece could be a lot more effective. And quite often, I'll go back to the client, or if I'm collaborating with another designer, and I'll say, hey, I know the client prefers this, but let's talk to the client and say, hey, these are my reasons for recommending something different. So I just want you to know that this is a very, very much a real world scenario. Um, and in a situation like this in the real world, you could possibly uh, go to your art director, your creative director, or even the client and say, hey, I've got an idea that I think would work better. Okay, so yes, I'm so glad that, I'm so glad that you include stuff like this in your writing because it really tells me a lot about the way that you're learning and what you're learning and how it applies not only to this assignment, but how it applies to real world practice of graphic design. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right over to your, well, actually, good job. Thank you so much for including your magazine ad as well as your banner ad. As we can see here, I'm just going to pull this down considerably so we can fit both in a window. But we can see a very, very high degree of consistency. And that's fantastic. So June, July, or August, June, July, or August. Okay, now, one thing the magazine ad, I think it's a winner. I really do. I think it's fantastic. I had commented on that before. I think it's done very, very well. The banner ad, I think, could be a more effective adaptation of the magazine ad. And I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations here. So one thing I see in the magazine ad, one thing that really pops out immediately to me is the color of the sky in the background. Now you can get away with it here because you've got these kind of neutral colors down here. I'm not real sure. This has been adjusted. I mean, I think that this either has a color cast on it or I don't recall you doing any adjustments to the sky, to the color of the sky. So I believe that this either has an inherent color cast on the image itself or somebody has adjusted the color of the sky to kind of fall over into the purple area of the spectrum. Now, like I said, you can get away with it here because it's really not a focal point, and you've got a lot of these other colors. But once we start getting up here, it does start to look unnatural. Now we go to the transition to the banner ad, and we can see we immediately see this purple sky, and that causes I think a pretty drastic uncomfortable visual tension. And the reason I say that is because skies aren't purple. This does not depict natural. It doesn't depict reality. Therefore, the viewer's like, wait a second. It's the same thing if you were to look at a plate of food and see broccoli that was colored blue. It would just immediately would cause tension because we know broccoli isn't blue. The same thing can be said about the purple sky. So really think about that. Um, the only thing missing from the banner ad is the location. You want to include the location because being located in U.S. Virgin Islands could quite feasibly be the difference as to whether a viewer clicks on this ad or not. So, and that's after all, that's what you want as a designer. Is your job as a designer is to get the viewer to click on this ad. So for that reason, I definitely recommend including the location somewhere, not the entire contact information, but the location. So maybe even right down here, located in beautiful St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. Um, Good placement of the logo. A lot of students want to jam that logo right down into the corner. I think this is really good placement. Nice job there. And it's no coincidence, and this is by design. And those of you who are watching along, I'm going to grab this to use as my straight edge, but as we can see, sorry about that. Gregory has done something very, very smart, and he has taken the logo, and he has placed it so the baseline aligns with the golf ball. That's really smart. That really points to good harmony. So good job there. Okay, so a couple of recommendations continuing on. I think that right now you've got a lot of text here that's animated. So I would recommend condensing this. And the reason being is because right now, I'm not a fast reader at all. So when I read through this, I get to about right here when it starts to fade. So then I kind of lose my track and I become distracted a little bit. Then I got to kind of go, okay, it's faded back in. So I got to go jump back up here and try to read it again real quick before it fades out. So fading can be a really, really problematic issue if you're using too much type. I recommend condensing this type to just simply free golf during June, July, and August, or book during June, something like that. I don't know. Think about how you can condense that, but book during June, July, and August, or free golf during June, July, and August, something like that. Just really consider condensing that so that you can, so that the viewer won't. The other option here is to slow the fade down a little bit. So really think about that. Whatever you think is the best solution there, think about how you want to employ that. Either reduce the amount of text or slow down the fade. Okay, I think free golf and yep, free is a little big. Honestly, I think it's a little big here too. I think that we could definitely bring this down a little bit in terms of scale. So if we bring that down maybe 2 points, and then bring that down 2 points, I think the harmony, the spatial relationship based on the size and scale of the subhead, the body copy, it's going to make more sense if we reduce these. Right now we've got this small body copy, this enormous headline and subhead. So, and then we see the same thing here to a lesser degree, but nonetheless, I still would like to see that this maybe just like this, something like that. Free golf, yep, free. Okay. Other than that, I think you're just off to a fantastic start. Another thing, for those of you who are watching along, another thing Gregory's done, very smart. This all points to alignment. And obviously, it looks like Gregory has had some classes in basic composition. But note that the top of the type aligns with the top of the headline. That's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Okay, so the great start, really great start. Those are my recommendations. Now, regarding the color of the sky, if you could just take that background image and, boy, it could feasibly be tough. And I think that this kind of selection is a little bit out of the scope of this class because this is a complex selection. Basically, what you're doing is selecting the sky in the background and placing an adjustment on that. So that being out of, as I said, the objectives of this class being that it's quite an advanced technique, I'm okay if you don't. Go ahead. If you can figure out how to do it, absolutely, go for it. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with selections based on color. Other than that, I think, as I said, that kind of complex selection it's a little bit outside the scope of this class. So I'm okay if you want to leave this purple color, but keep in mind my comments. Okay, so at this point, where do we go from here? I would like you to make those adjustments and reflect those adjustments in your final ad that's coming up due next week. If you want to go ahead and make those required or requested changes in the banner ad and resubmit here along with the changes in the magazine, that's fantastic. Go right ahead. I'll be glad to provide further comments. Other than that, if you just want to submit your final, that's great too. Whatever is convenient for you is convenient for me, but at the very least, I would like to see those recommended changes reflected in your final submission coming up next week during week 7. Okay, most important thing at this point, of course, is to let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if I can provide any further clarification. All right, fantastic start. Thank you very much.